And welcome to Conservatives Talk.
And today we got the Roman special.
That is just so funny on so many levels. It honestly is. And it's a lot better than the working title we had prior to this. And I'm going to go ahead and pull this up real fast just so everyone kind of gets an idea of it. But essentially, it was we're sick and tired of
a nonpartisan board playing partisan.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And well, let's go ahead and call it what it is. It's the our city commissioners forgot that you never go full hypocrite.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's basically like hometown headlines. And don't forget, boycott hometown headlines.
Absolutely. Yeah, never forget to refuse to read our local Fat Boys article, periodical, essentially.
If you read it, it's basically liberal. It's liberal. It's a liberal columnist.
Yes, absolutely. It's 100% opinion piece that he masquerades as a truth.
Yeah, it's not even the truth. It's just his. Not just an opinion. I mean, it's garbage. It doesn't even have any perspective. Like, it's just awful. It's stupid. Anyway,
that's
boycott hometown headlines.
Exactly.
We got enough garbage to talk about today. We don't even need to fill it with him.
I couldn't agree more with you on that one. Sorry. So the Roman special. Let's kind of get into a little bit about what this is and what essentially brought us to do this. So for those of you who may not be aware, and we're actually going to walk you through a little bit on a PowerPoint with this, because this is how significant we feel this needs to be addressed with.
I mean, we need to walk you through the whole hypocrisy in order for you to fully understand.
Yes, outside of that, it just doesn't carry the weight of it as what it does. Okay, so essentially on July 30th, there was a large fight that took place downtown.
Yeah.
It was the largest in recorded history that they have of any sort of actual documentation.
Because every kid has to have a phone and a camera out now. So
exactly.
That's basically it. It's not the largest fight that I've witnessed on Broad Street, but it's definitely the largest one that they've had on social media.
Well, not just that, but also in a police report.
Yeah, I feel like that's the big thing here.
Yeah, so it started inside the bar and it eventually spilled over outside the establishment. And it only spilled over outside the establishment after the owner of the establishment turned on the fire hose for these guys, or some of these
I didn't know
rebel
that.
rousers.
They turned on the fire hose to get
an actual fire hose. Yeah,
that's crazy.
I mean, that's what it took to break some of these guys up. But yeah, that's ultimately what caused.
Wild.
Yeah, that's ultimately what caused this to spill over outside.
All right. We keep explaining
it. So there was one arrest made out of all of these folks that were in there fighting. There was one arrest made. A gentleman was arrested for essentially evading police, evading arrest. One of the charges that was brought to him was a possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, possession of a firearm during an act of certain felonies. So this bar, having no idea that this entire large group of 50 plus people were coming, the city commission is accusing or has said that they did not meet the duties of an establishment in order to provide a safe environment for his patrons. Well, they had no idea this number of folks were coming out here for this. So if they were to have hired an addition or the additional off-duty police officers, off-duty security officers, all this other stuff, that would have come out of their checks for something they had no idea was coming down the road.
Well, here's the thing though, like you don't never really know. Like if you're it's hit or miss.
Exactly.
You know? Like there's a lot of people who like just ride down Broad Street, and if they don't really see anything, then they're like, okay, I'll just go home or something.
Yeah.
And if they see a lot of people out, then they're like, I'll stop by.
I've been to that place, and there have literally been 8 people in there the entire evening.
Well, I've been in there, and there have been no one in there except for like 2 or 3 people. And then it's almost like you like walk down Broad Street for a little bit, or you go to the bathroom, you come back and the place is packed. Like there's no way of really like judging.
Absolutely not.
You know, like who's there and who's not going to be there and all this other. I couldn't imagine being the employer who's trying to wait security. You know,
no,
you have no
not
idea.
at all.
But that's not what.
Since especially because you have no idea of what's coming down the pipe with that. So there were essentially, per the police report, and we're going to include the police report and the meetings of the ACC meeting that were included with this. There were 50 plus patrons that were out in front of the bar when the police arrived. After they made the arrest, some of the crowd became hostile to the police officers there, and at times seemed to be growing to the point of interfering with their arrest. And that's gathered from what the actual police report says, which was accompanied to the August 20th meeting minutes or the agenda.
22nd.
Is it 22nd or is it 20th?
I think it's the 22nd. Are you talking about the city commission?
Yeah, city commission meeting.
There's on the 22nd.
Oh, okay. Well, the August 22nd city commission meeting, it was attached to their agenda, so we're able to pull directly off of that, and we're going to post this in there as well, so you're able to see exactly what we're talking about and actually have the documentation there in front of you. But one man was badly injured per these reports, and he appeared from these reports to need medical treatment. So, I mean, there was something that bad that occurred out of this. A man was beaten pretty badly. But it also, in these reports, were saying that he had almost kind of instigated it in a sense himself. Again, these are allegations. We have no substantial means of backing any of this, and we cannot corroborate any of this.
But this was the individual who they say ended up in the hospital.
Yes.
Correct. Okay.
Yes. So once that happened, the business owner was called into the Alcohol Control Commission, the ACC, for a meeting in a hearing to essentially determine whether or not they would be allowed to continue with their alcohol and entertainment licensures, which in the ACC is the civilian control board that makes these recommendations to the city commission.
So it's kind of like a committee, right? Like
yes,
exactly.
It's
basically just a committee, like planning commission or anything like that. They're just a recommending body.
Absolutely.
Okay.
A committee is a good way of describing that. So after reviewing the police reports and taking testimony from the owner and other folks that were there, they made the determination that they would make the recommendation that to suspend the entertainment and alcohol licensure of this establishment for 2 weeks. However, the city commission chose to up that, essentially double that punishment that was being incurred upon this business. And they cited that that they were going to be doing this because Peaches or this business did not put forward a plan and put something into place that would essentially meet the duties under the legal terminology that would be required of a business owner to provide a very safe establishment for patrons. So they put in place where they were going to be receiving the suspension for 4 weeks, and before they could reopen, they had to put in a plan after meeting with the police chief to have a secure area or a secure business establishment, which, in all honesty, the fact that they are doing this really hurts this business. I mean, they're closing the business's doors for a month, especially because this business doesn't operate more than 2 days a week.
And it really does, like, it's an entertainment venue. It's not like a restaurant / bar. It's really
entertainment that serves alcohol.
Yeah,
absolutely. So prior to all of this in this part of the meeting, there was a gentleman that stood up in front of the city commission and gave us, or he spoke about something that was near and dear to his heart that we think that is pretty significant, and ultimately one of the main reasons why we are actually doing this special. So I'm going to go ahead and play the video for you about what he said.
Five minutes of work, and I'm glad the kids got dismissed. That was good. So my name's Ken Wright. I'm P.O. Box 324, Silver Creek, Georgia. And even though I'm here to speak, this is not really something I wanted to speak about, but I think from awareness standpoint that I needed to speak about. And I'll just read. So Rome, Georgia recently made national news, but not in a good way. The title of the article reads, Family-Friendly Event Features Sex Toys and Drag Queen Performances. The article goes on to state that advertising for the event included family-friendly and a Pride Kids Zone that included face painting, live DJ, hairstyling, and story time. At this event, drag queens read to kids, and vendors featured sex toys on display in the presence of kids. There's video and photographic evidence showing a child tipping a drag queen and sex toys displayed on tables in full display of kids. The national article also states that the police took no action to stop these things from occurring, although I personally know law enforcement officers that are both offended and disgusted by what went on in the presence of children. This isn't really a question about whether you support this type of lifestyle or not, nor is it about the choices of adults. Opinions don't really matter. What does matter is the law. This was in violation of no less than four federal laws: promoting lewd acts to a minor, exposing minors to obscenity, and enticing minors for sexual activity. There's three of those. And these kids didn't just see this accidentally. These kids were enticed to come to this event with the promotion of a family-friendly story time, face painting, and things like that, which leads to further violations. It also occurred in a public park, a taxpayer park. There's a reason that adult stores have restrictions related to customers 18 and older, yet this was ignored at this event. Sponsors and customers of sponsors were not aware of this type of illegal behavior that would take place. As a matter of fact, some of these sponsors are highly upset. Their reason for sponsoring was an open environment for acceptance, but not for something like this to take place. However, the parties in charge of this event certainly had full knowledge that children would be present, and these adult stores knew that and that they would be displaying their items. So these vendors were aware, and the persons responsible for this event were aware. My ask is simple, that all parties involved in creating this event be investigated for violating laws related to their roles in the corruption of minors. And if they're found guilty, I would recommend this event be banned from Floyd County and, of course, these vendors from participating in an event like this. Please assure the citizens that this commission and the city police will act on this complaint and follow up with the state and federal authorities as needed to bring these child sex offenders to justice. This has damaged our community, including citizens, businesses, schools, real estate market, and industry recruitment. Now is the time for damage control to minimize the damages caused by this irresponsible and immoral event. Evil persists where good people do nothing.
So that's that is essentially what has spurred this entire this special.
Well, I mean, I hate to say I told y'all so, like, you know what I mean? But like, that's what we've been saying from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we got major backlash for trying to protest the drag queen story time. And people like wanted to come after us for saying that we were protesting Pride when we weren't.
Absolutely.
We were just trying to basically give them a warning and say, hey, here's where your danger zone is. When you start talking about you want to bring in children to talk about adult sexual content and things of that nature, you have a problem. I could care less what anybody else does in their own private room, if they get a place for their own venue, if they want to do anything that is 18 and up for adults, because you at 18 and older have your own mind frame. You're legally an adult. But Absolutely. When you start having a family-friendly zone and you start bringing in mature adult content, we have a problem.
Yes, and that 18 and older notion is going to play a significant part in one of the things that we're going to be discussing coming up here soon. But before we jump into that, so the city commissioners essentially suspended this business licensure of this organization for this breach of duty. And they are specifically citing that they failed to fulfill the duties that are assigned to them as a business, and that's actually one of the things that one of our local prideful city commissioners, or say our proud city commissioners, stated in one of these clips that we have right here for you. Just 1 second.
There's a base level of responsibility that every business owner has to acquiesce to, every single one of us.
So there you have City Commissioner Mark Cochran. He is essentially noting that every business has a base level of responsibility that they have to fulfill, which he is absolutely correct. Legally speaking, there are duties that must be fulfilled in that regard, especially under tort law, Georgia's tort law. However, there are other duties that must be fulfilled, and we'll take a look at some of those right here, specifically ones relating to what our city commissioners must do. And we are actually pulling this directly from the Rome City Commission ordinance, or the Rome City ordinances.
For those of you who want to look up ordinances, you can go to a place called municode.com, municode.com. Type in, go to the state that you want, go to the city that you want, and then they have a search bar that's like Google keyword search, and then you can just pull up whatever has that phrase. So you can just go to Municode and type in adult entertainment once you get to Rome, Georgia, and it'll pull up the whole ordinance and what the legal binding documents are.
Absolutely, and we'll even provide the link for you just to make it that much easier.
Yeah,
that will be listed in the description above essentially the video that you're looking at here. So one of the things that I wanted to point out here, and essentially this is Article 1. This is the incorporation of the city. It says City of Rome, a body political and corporate, make and enact through its commissioners such ordinances, bylaws, rules, regulations, and resolutions for the transaction of its business and the welfare and the proper government of the city as the commissioners may deem proper, not in conflict with this charter, nor in conflict with the Constitution and the laws of the state of Georgia, nor in conflict with the law or the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America. So essentially, what that's saying there is that the commissioners have the right to make laws and rules and everything, that as long as they are not conflicting with the parent body, be it via the state or the United States, they're able to pass these laws that govern how this is.
That's correct.
And what we're going to be looking at through a lot of this is some of these laws and some of these rules. So another part of this incorporation deal, and it says, and the city of Rome shall have the right and power to rent, lease, or operate any and all public buildings for any purpose whatsoever. So they have the right to be able to do this, but they also have the right to be able to say, no, we're not going to. That's when you
have the right, but there's and I will say this:
give a right, you have the same right to say no. I mean, that's legalese 101 right there.
Completely understand. Not even to play devil's advocate or anything of that nature. I'm just saying that, when typically what happens is there's a process when it comes to filing for these petitions and everything else, and as long as you check the boxes, it's very hard. And a lot of people were in conflict when they did this for pride and wondering how you could do it. Well, it's the same situation when it came to when the National Socialist Party or the white supremacists, many people remember, came to Rome as well, right? There's not really a process that like holds this up so long as you get your petition and move forward. So I think that's somewhat clear, because a lot of people were like, how could we let this happen? Well, we could have vetted it a lot more. We could have asked a lot more questions, but once the petition is filed, there's no way of not having it. There's a way that we can help modify it, But
well, I would say initially there's a way. There's no way that you could say no to them. But now that we've seen what comes of it, and that what essentially making the argument that they had lied and tricked this commission,
not just the commission.
Yes, we'll
get into that, but
in general, but they lied and tricked these folks, or us, that now there is a very valid argument of being said, no, sorry, you had your opportunity and you blew it. So
now, I do want to say, I am like, I don't think this should stop having a pride event.
Oh no,
but we got to draw a line. And the drag queen story time thing, this like display of drag queens like in public places or not getting proper licensing, that's where it's got to stop. I just need to make that comment.
Yeah, I would say the pride event overall, I don't think there is an opportunity or a way that we could stop that. But the fact that they had
tethered.
essentially abused the trust of the
Yeah.
American public. There's a very valid argument there, and coming back and saying, no, you're not allowed to do this ever again.
I agree with that too.
So another part of the incorporation aspect of this, it says the city of Rome is created by this act, shall succeed to all the rights and the remedies of, and is hereby made responsible as a corporate or as a body corporate for all the legal debts, disabilities, and undertakings of the present city of Rome. So essentially, and I wanted to highlight that word responsible there, because ultimately the city is responsible for anything that happens within its boundaries, as far as any sort of public lands or public ongoing events, things along that nature.
Yeah.
And I think that's that is very significant. Another part of this, and I wanted to get to this one as well. This is the actual oath of office of what every city commissioner swears to before they are allowed to hold the seat of their office. And the parts that I really would like to highlight on is that essentially it says, that they will faithfully and indeterminately demean themselves as a commissioner, and that they will have regard for the charter of the city of Rome, the Constitution and the laws of the state, and the United States of America. And they further go on to swear that I will not knowingly permit my vote to be influenced by fear, favor, affection, reward, or hope thereof, but in all things pertaining to my said office, I will be governed by my convictions to the good or to the public good, so help me God. So essentially what that's saying is that anything that they do, they feel is for the better public good.
Yeah. And it's not political or anything else.
Yes.
Like,
they're not scared of the ramifications of what they're deciding on doing. They're not scared of the potential, the pushback, that they're not going to be influenced based upon their fear or favor or affection or the potential reward of anything coming forward. That they will govern based upon their essentially their
code of ordinances.
Their convictions.
Yeah.
What
and all
they
this,
feel is the best.
All this backstory and everything else sets the stage for the meat of what we're getting ready to talk about, which is really the heart of the problem.
Absolutely. And that's what we're jumping right into right now. So here we go. The Rome City Commissioners are nothing more than a bunch of hypocrites. And I would say probably the biggest hypocrites that I have had the displeasure of meeting in my association with the political sphere.
I know some foul people, so.
Oh, I do too.
They're up there. But
believe me, I've met some very foul folks, but I would say these guys are about the worst of the worst. Local governments tend to be that.
Some of them. I won't say all of them, but some of them.
Well, of course not all of them, but
yeah, I know
the vast majority of them. It's kind of a it's just a known thing that your local governments are.
Well, I wouldn't say that either.
Well, I would absolutely.
Speaking as a bureaucrat, I would say
you're not you're not technically you're not an elected official. Yeah, elected officials are the ones that are the worst of the worst.
Well, we'll have to agree to disagree on that so we can get through
again. Not all of them. There may be 2 or 3 of them out there, but for the vast majority of them, they fall into this category.
On this commission, yeah.
He's not gonna let that one go.
No.
So essentially, what they did was they scolded and shut down a business for breaches of duty, plus not following guidelines and ordinances. And prior to attacking this business, a man asked that they address and investigate severe ordinance violations that had been regularly occurring downtown and venues that would require a particular business license known as a adult entertainment establishment. And we're going to build the case to show you that these businesses are actually, or these shows that they're putting on, or these events they're putting on, require and meet the standard of what would be adult entertainment.
Yeah.
And so these venues are hosting these events while not not only not holding these license, but some of them didn't even at the time hold an entertainment license at all. So they are operating illegally just from the beginning, almost kind of twofold in a sense.
Which is, I think, where part of the hypocrisy comes in, because we're chastising one business. And don't get me wrong, this business is not out of the woods yet, because they did the same thing that this other business is doing.
Absolutely.
But this other business is doing it way more frequently, like once a week, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. Well, so the main ones they've held so far have been that they've held 2 of them so far. The other establishment has held 1, had planned on holding 1 probably what was it, last weekend, but they were unable to because of the revocation. So they were not able to hold that. So it's at least one good thing that came out of it. So let's jump right into what we're talking about, and let's define what these adult entertainment establishments are. So as you'll see there in your screen in front of you, it says there the adult are what the definitions for adult entertainment establishments are. And you'll see the code, and you'll see where this is pulled directly from Municode, and where you'll be able to see exactly what the requirements set forth in these are, and what they must meet. You'll see a kind of a highlighted theme there, and that it must require a specific anatomical region, that being highlighted 4 times just in the first 2 definitions of what these are.
Let's show them what we're talking about.
Well, it's on the screen in front of them.
Yeah.
But, and then, so let's define exactly what or the specified areas are. And you'll see this here as well. You'll see where we pulled the definition from the from Municode as well. You'll also see where these definitions are coming from. One of them coming from an actual medical site out of California, and the other one, of course, is Wikipedia. But do you really need anything, or do you really need a medical site to determine what the definition of buttocks is?
Yeah, no. I mean, you can pull it from Wikipedia.
Exactly.
People only don't like Wikipedia because other people can edit it, and so who cares?
Yeah. Well, when you're dealing with the term buttocks,
yeah.
I mean, come on. So you'll see where the area is highlighted for the pubic region and the buttocks. So let's take a look at some of the things that we see based on the definitions there of exactly where these are coming from. And you'll see that these do 100% meet the definition of everything that we have been discussing prior to that. You'll see, like as it says, the old man in a turgid state. And then moving forward, you'll see this is right here is where we move from one business to the other establishment. And I'm gonna play a little clip here of where this was pulled from. All right, there's one, and then we have the next one that comes up, and as you'll see right there, meets the next definition. And let's play the video. This one comes. Is significant on 2 parts, because that actually not only violates the specific anatomical region aspect of it, but it also violates a further regulation that we're going to look at here in just a minute. So let's look at the next one.
I think it's important to note too that these are 2 different establishments in the same location. Off of Broad Street.
Yes, the same event on Broad Street on one block, and then the next one is on the other block.
Mm-hmm.
So back-to-back blocks.
So ththose of you who know Broad Street, this is what's going on after most of us go to bed.
Absolutely.
Well, most of y'all, because
we are kind of essentially establishing that there is a de facto red light district.
And it's growing. Into, like, you know what I mean?
Rome.
Like it's like we had good at nightlife, college entertainment, and then all of a sudden, over the last couple months, you're starting to see other adventures start to pop up on Broad Street.
Absolutely. So here is another example, and I'm going to play the video of this one real fast. So as you can see, it clearly violates every part of, or they highlight this specific anatomical region when it comes to the city ordinance that we're talking about with this right here. And these right here are just these drag queen story or these drag queen shows that have been taking place at some of these establishments.
Now, most of these are supposed to be 18 and older.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
18 and older, which is significant there because 18 and older indicates adult. And these establishments allow anyone under the age of 18 outside of these events.
Well, before a certain time period.
Yes, true.
And I think that's also clear to note too, right? So
but these events also begin at 7 o'clock in the afternoon. And when that curfew essentially goes into effect, I believe that's 10 or 11.
That's yeah. I mean, that's a valid point. You know, I'm just what I'm trying to do right now too is separate too from our other viewers who may find this entertainment appealing, right? Because there's a significant point that we're trying to make here. And part of that being is that, excuse me, there is a time and a place for adult entertainment. And once you start mingling the two and not giving enough of a time frame to make sure that children are leaving, to make sure that certain things are not displayed until children are gone, we begin to start crossing a line that needs to be a hard line that we need to stand up to.
Or you should be required to actually have the licensures to be able to hold these type of events.
Which is also true, but I think it's a valid point that even in securing the license, right, there still needs to be, even just because you have your license does not mean that, you know, you can like web and flow with it. There needs to be some kind of like in between or some kind of check and balance to make sure that
per the regulations, minors are not even allowed in these establishments once they have these licensures,
which is also valid. So that's probably why there's a interesting point to why they probably haven't got a certain level of entertainment license that fits what these establishments are.
Absolutely.
Because then there goes a good bit of their patrons during the day.
Absolutely. So we're going to show you one more real quick. And this is this right here didn't come from one of the establishments here. This actually came from the P-Flag event with the Pride Festival. This was what was known as the family-friendly kid zone area, an event. And this was on display with that. And I'm going to show you a quick little video with that.
This was disgusting. See, that's what pisses me off.
Yes. So you'll notice that there was a child that runs in there and throws some money on top of the speaker, tipping this drag queen while he's up there performing.
And again,
doing this.
I really don't like being the person I told you so, but this is the whole reason why we wanted to come out against this event. We wanted to talk to the individuals and say, hey, this is not a great idea for this area, because what you're going to do is you're going to rile up some people and they're going to be upset to where you can never host an event like this ever again. So instead of heeding that warning, they wanted to backlash and double down on it. And look what happened.
Yeah, when they doubled down, they really doubled down. I mean, there was very little of what he was wearing on there that would conform within the city ordinance or the county ordinance or the ordinance governing the establishment of the Floyd and Park Recreation Association there. That violated every level of the ordinance there.
And this really could have been a family-friendly event. It could have. If you take away
outside of a lot of this.
If you take away the drag queen story time, if you take away the sex toy displays, if you take away all the lewd behavior, you could have done something great. But what they chose to do was act out and lash out, which has caused an even bigger problem, and now we're pissed off.
Well, let's take a look at some of the things that some of these other family, or we're going to take a look at some of these other family-friendly events that are going on. That's what they're claiming them as, or at least in the purest sense of it from their perspective. So now that we have established that these establishments are running adult businesses, everything that they're doing with these events and these shows meets the qualifications of what would fall under an adult business. And you'll see the ordinance there as defined under section 23302, 23303. So let's take a look at some of the other regulations that are being violated outside. So outside of not just the fact that they are operating adult businesses, but they're doing it outside the licensures, they're also violating several of the regulations that adult businesses must abide by here in Rome. And some of these are highlighted in front of you. One of them being that you cannot advertise until you have the licensure. Another one being that you are not allowed to have minors present. You're not allowed to have dancers within certain feet. I believe it's 10 feet. You are required to display the licensure that you have received, the adult entertainment licensure. You are not allowed to receive the tip. You're not allowed to elicit a tip. You're not allowed to. You can't get money from dancing out there. So let's take a look at some of these, and we'll see whether or not they're abiding by some of these regulations. And again, you can see this is pulled up directly from Unicode or Municode, where this is the Rome City Ordinance. Advertising. You'll see here that there are four separate advertisements there. Two of them being at Peaches, the business establishment that was shut down. One of them coming from Tortaco, which is the current establishment that are having all these events, and the third one being from P-Flag, that was advertised as the family-friendly event that you can bring your kids out to. Look at the state of these men and the clothing that they're wearing, and them trying to sell this as a family-friendly event. I mean, it's pretty clear that this is, in and of itself, not family-friendly at all. You'll notice that in some of these advertisements, or actually all of these advertisements outside of the P-Flag event, they all say 18 and older. They all say you have to be an adult to attend these. So these are, in effect, not family-friendly events.
Except for the one that they tried to make it, where they covertly
they lied. They did. But the fact, we'll get to that aspect.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just getting upset.
No, you're right. Yeah, absolutely. No, you're correct. You're getting me fired up. What can I say? And this right here's another one. This is the same one that did so this is the organization or the troupe that did the drag queen story time readings. They are the ones that organize and hold the the bingo night at Tortaco on Tuesdays. Notice it says family friendly, free to attend, kids are welcome. Look at the name of the trio.
Does it say Southern Gilfs?
That's exactly what it says.
Okay.
And I'm not going to say exactly what it said or what that acronym.
But you can look.
Is.
You can Google.
Oh,
it.
It's on the screen. It's they're asterisked out.
Yeah.
But
if that's your thing, be 18 and older. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But like this again,
family friendly. That's what it's advertised as, family friendly. So I guess it sounds incredibly family friendly to myself. I guess to any rational minded person.
I still
having
understand.
The Southern Gilfs get up there and perform.
Like that's the whole thing. Like that's the thing to me. Like, why are you making this family friendly kid events? No one has a problem. Like, you know what I mean? People are gonna have a problem, but like no one's gonna come after anybody who does this as an adult event. If you did an adult event about this, people would be like, that's questionable. That's weird. That's your own thing. But do that over there. Some people aren't going to deal with it.
I would disagree with that. There have been several business establishments that I've tried to pop up on Broad Street that were
slashed.
That tried to get the adult entertainment business licensures, and they were just destroyed.
Which is part of the hypocrisy, right? Because like there was a lingerie store. There was a sex toy store. All of these business. I mean, and these other businesses should be pissed off too, because these are businesses who they put through the ringer. Mm-hmm. I mean, who had them going back and forth between planning commissions, had them getting tabled, coming back, and then still getting denied, spending thousands of dollars only for something like this to come in without a license, without prior approval, and just hosting it at late at night.
Absolutely.
That should piss people off.
Mm-hmm. There was one business that actually was successful in doing that for one event. And the only reason why they were able to do that was because they were under the threat of a federal lawsuit that would have been 100% successful had that happened. Just because of the legal representation that was involved with it. But the fact that they now are essentially sitting down or sitting back behind the scenes and just allowing this to happen, just rolling over. I mean, there is a clear political agenda, and that's something that we're going to touch on here in just a minute. We know that these people are kowtowing to the alphabet groups in this fact, because if the average Roman knew that in downtown Rome, Georgia, that there were adult entertainment licensures being issued out to businesses down there.
They're not adult entertainment licenses being issued out to businesses. They're adult entertainment actions going on.
Well, if they knew that they had these licensures issued out to these businesses, downtown would become what it was 10 years ago.
Which is why people,
town.
which is part of the reason why I would say people like me are upset, right? Because here's the thing. Over the last 10 years, there was a big battle with people who wanted to have these businesses down here.
Mm-hmm.
They shut down where the establishment that's in question right now about the alcohol license, they shut it down years ago because there was supposed to be labeled adult entertainment there. There were businesses that tried to go in on Broad Street that were, again, put through the ringer because they were trying to seek an adult entertainment license, but yet here we are allowing someone to skirt the rules, and they're just going to put their hands up and ignore it. That's a problem.
It absolutely is, because that not only hurts us from a perspective within our town, but it hurts us from a perspective nationally as well.
Yeah. We're just going to allow whatever they want.
Just turn our blind eye because
if it's a model, but we'll,
yes. So let's take a look at some of the other things that have occurred downtown. So you'll see here, these are the actual minutes that were from an ACC meeting involving one of the establishments that we've been talking about, Tortaco. Tortaco had been granted a licensure to be able to pour liquor. They did not have the ability to pour liquor and host entertainment events. Now, they've been hosting entertainment events since they've been open. They've been having live bands, performers come in since they've opened their doors. It wasn't until their second drag queen show that they finally received enough pressure, or felt enough pressure, to where they felt like they needed to go and apply for an entertainment licensure. And you will see in the documentation here, they explicitly say that what we're going to be doing does not rise to the level of adult entertainment. We would not become an adult establishment or adult business. However, what we've shown you so far clearly says they lied.
And I do want to say this too. So all of you who've seen the images that were displayed at first were from this Tortaco restaurant. All the videos
and Peaches.
Well, the videos were from Peaches,
yes.
But the images themselves were from some of these drag shows at this Tortaco restaurant.
Yes.
And all this is pulled up from these individuals' Facebook page. We were able to find them, pull the images up, and then go from there.
And you can clearly see, and we have provided the link to where they are and put out where you're able to find these images as well. But again, that also goes into something that we'll touch on here in a little bit. Here we go. Here are the actual licensures that these establishments hold. You will clearly see that they have a entertainment license with the ability to pour, meaning that they are able to pour liquor and hold event and entertainment at their establishments. It says nothing about them being able to hold these adult entertainment events there. And I also included P-Flag on there, who has no licensures whatsoever. All they did was put in an application for a venue, and they were granted that venue. You will notice on there that it does say vendors and performances. It does not indicate what vendors or what performances would be occurring there. So
I think that's important.
Oh, absolutely. They have yet. These right here are the most recent licensures. These actually were pulled last week. So these are the most recent event or the most recent licensures. And you will notice that in the regulations it says that in order for them to be able to host these things, these licensures must be prominently displayed to where they can be seen at any point in time. So the fact that they don't have these licensures displayed anywhere just says they don't have them. So let's take a look at it a little bit further.
Okay.
There we go. Another violation of regulations. You can clearly see there is tipping going on to these performers. Not only in the video that we looked at, but clearly in these photos. You will see that these performers are receiving tips for dancing in semi-nude states.
So I got
on
a
these
question,
states.
because I hadn't really dabbled down in their ordinance, right? But could they receive tips if they had an adult entertainment
No.
license? So there's no way, even if an
no
adult,
tipping at any point in
at
time.
any point, not even inside of a tip jar
Nope.
or nothing like that.
Not if you're an
because-
adult entertainment establishment. You can, as an entertainment establishment, say, for instance, a performer in a band that has the tip jar out in front. That
Which
is perfectly okay.
Which is the separation between the two in here, because if you have an entertainment license, then you're saying that there is no adult content,
Yes.
which allows for the tips. But if you are adult entertainment inside the city of Rome, so it's not like Atlanta to where, like, I can go to the strip club and tip the dancer.
No, you cannot do that in Rome.
So you can't do that in Rome.
No.
There's no ordinance that allows for any kind of strip club or anything like that inside the city of Rome.
So you can have a strip club inside the city of Rome if you have the licensure for it, but you cannot tip them directly, nor can you elicit tips from patrons.
Well, then it's not a strip club.
That's what the ordinance says.
I mean, hey, I dabbled in college, like, you know what I mean? Like,
hey, I was in the Army.
And we're not. That's
I
not
spent a decade in the Army. I've been to just about every major city in the entire United States, and of course,
like,
we
and that's.
went to them.
I feel like that's my whole thing about this. Like, come on, y'all. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is no one's really coming after y'all, except for the fact that you will not stop doing the drag queen story time.
Well, not just that. You're
harming other businesses, and then you're causing this rift inside of the city, all because you feel like you're better than everyone.
And this gets to a larger picture, and we'll get to that picture at the end of what we're presenting with this. I think it's something that, in all honesty, I believe it is the entirety of the argument involving this. But as you can clearly see, there in the upper right-hand corner of your screen there, I mean, that looks just like the performance stage of a strip club. I mean, you got dollar bills just laying all over the floor. You got this half-naked dude dancing on the floor. And you can even see in the one in the middle there, on the upper middle, the ordinance says dancers are not allowed within 10 feet of people. They're almost shaking hands.
Yeah.
So they violate these ordinances at a regular interval, yet nothing comes out of our city commission. Now let's talk about PFLAG and what their event did. So as you can see, right there, what it says, this is going to be the family-friendly event. Kids are encouraged to come. They've got face painting, they've got a kid zone, they've got all this stuff there. Kids, I would say that the primary focus on this event within our city was geared at this being a family-friendly oriented event and kid-friendly.
Which is what I feel like a lot of people wanted, because for the longest time, there's just been this, I guess you could say, negative culture that Rome and this county is related to, that kind of lifestyle. And I think this was kind of one of those things where even the people who don't necessarily agree with that lifestyle were like, if you say what you're saying, if you're being honest about it, then I think this is something that no one's going to have a problem with. But again, I hate to be the one that I told you so, but once you started having these family-friendly kid areas saying that you're going to have a drag queen read to kids, it was a problem. And even everyone tried to come to you and say, hey, this is where your problem line is going to be. People are going to have a problem with it. You still wanted to double down, and look what you've caused.
Yes.
Now no one even wants to be a part of. No one even wants to accept the lifestyle or allow an event like this inside of Rome.
No,
because they've misplaced the trust.
Well, I mean, so when you have a preconceived notion, and then the organization that was granted the trust to prove that wrong comes out and reaffirms that preconceived notion, what do you expect?
Exactly.
And again, I want to reiterate on this. This was supposed to be a family-friendly event, yet look at the advertisement they had for this. The half-dressed dudes in bikini tops and lingerie and all this other stuff. That's the advertising for the family-friendly event. So let's look at the other things of what actually happened.
The heart of the issue.
Yes. So you'll see there what actually happened in regard and some of the what some of the businesses put out there to sell at these family-friendly events within the kid-friendly zone, within the face painting and all this other stuff were set up right there in plain sight. I also included another little piece of tidbit, a little information on there via the OCGA 16-2-103, specifically saying that it shall be unlawful for any person to be able to do this. So not only are they violating city, county, they are also violating state law. And as you heard from the gentleman speak earlier, in his belief, they are violating national law. So we granted our trust to these organizations to be able to come in here and host this kid-friendly, family-friendly event, yet this is what they do to repay the trust.
I'm highly irritated.
We're going to go a little further into it. So these are other photos provided by No Left Turn of a couple of the other vendors that were there. Again, I put OCGA 16-2-103 on there as well. Again, this was right out that this was within sight of any child that would walk out there. And I was there. I was there as part of Conservatives Talk Media. I brought the press credentials. I was there on site. I was recording things in that nature. There were kids that were walking around there from the ages of, from what I saw, 9 on up to 18. I mean, there was every sort of minor life stage there at this event. And this is what they had out there in full display and view of these minors. Again, violating state law, yet we still hear nothing about this. I'm going a little further. There we go again. We're bringing up this photo of this dude up on stage dancing. And again, we are accompanying a state law in this regard, and this state law being 16-6-8. And it says a person commits the offense of public indecency when he or she performs any of the following acts in a public place: lewd appearance in the state of partial or complete nudity. And as you can see, based upon what the ordinances and everything that we have pulled up and shown prior, this is what is considered adult. This would be considered an adult business, an adult entertainment, because of the state of this dude up there dancing. Going a little further. This is the actual, so these are 2 slides that were used to present, to convince the city commission to allow for this to move forward, or at least as a PR program, and in calming the nerves of everybody in the public and ensuring that this was not going to be this adult business or this adult entertainment that's going to be going on. These are some of the things that they put out there. As you can clearly see, they mentioned that there would be a wide entrepreneurial base there. They include some of the bigger names of Bacon Bloom and Shaw. Bacon Bloom being the baking company on Broad Street that has been seen on the Food Network and winning a national prize that way. Shaw being one of the largest carpet manufacturers in the entire world.
Which I think these businesses had great intentions when they wanted to,
yes, I'm sure they did
come out and support probably employees, things of that nature, patrons. And I again, this irritates the heck out of me because we were all taken advantage of by one organization who has misled all of us to allow something like this to go on, and we have to put our foot down.
Yes, and that requires actually putting your foot down. That's the key. Putting your foot down. There are some other pieces of information in this that I'll say are 100% factually are 100% factually incorrect. Talking about the percentage of the age groups of what identify as these alphabet groups and all this other stuff. Wrong. That's just lies. You'll also see on there with the reservation for the public. It says vendors. It says performances. Says nothing to the fact that they are actually going to have adult vendors there, that they're going to have adult performances there. Funny fact is that their largest sponsor was the adult sex toy businesses.
Sounds a little covert to me.
Yeah, but they now
weren't some of these establishments one of the ones that were trying to get on the Broad Street to begin with?
Yes.
Which also kind of raises an eyebrow when you have a business that was that wanted to come on Broad Street, right? That was rejected by the city commission
several times,
and then come through someone else to allow for their items to be downtown as a sponsor to another event.
Essentially, they're trying to put something out there that is so outrageous and so off the wall that you don't have the same reaction to something that is not as outrageous.
I see where you're going with that. To where you can eventually get the business down there, or it could be the opposite direction, right? You see someone who's making more inroads than you were able to, so you want to tank them. You give them the sponsorship that's necessary so that you can also be a part of the reason why they never show up again.
Yeah, I would say correct. So that kind of leads us into the entire point of this. And that being that our city commissioners are refusing to speak up. They are refusing to equitably apply the law across the board. They are picking and choosing who they would like to enforce these rules and regulations on. And they are only enforcing these rules and regulations when they are not going to receive the pushback from the national alphabet groups.
Well, I don't even think that's it. To me, it goes back to the fact that, we have allowed to be coerced into believing that city governments are nonpartisan, right?
Oh, that's very true.
That's the problem. Okay. We have seen a shift inside the city of Rome that we have not seen inside of Floyd County. And what that shift is, for the first time in a long time, the majority of those who sit up there identify and vote as Democrats.
It's a funny thing that one of the leaders that sit on, or one of the former leaders that sit on the city commission, decided that they were going to essentially roast another national leader because they did not have the current ability to get anything done for them specifically, or for the city that they were leading specifically. They roasted them, saying that they couldn't get anything done, that they couldn't do anything that would help promote the city, that they were essentially nothing more than just a placeholder. But I'm putting that very politely. Yet now, and that was when that is when this national leader is in the minority on the national level. Yet now, when this city leader is in the minority, they're coming and begging for help.
Mm-hmm. Well, I also find interesting, right, is the fact that there was a former person who was on this board who kind of was thinking in the same line and decided to run against that national leader.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then didn't even make it out of their primary. And then you see someone who kind of fooled a lot of people who said that they were conservative.
Well, let's
I'm getting fired
you're
up.
jumping the gun on this one, man.
I'm fired up. I'm upset.
You know what? Screw it. Let's talk about what it is. So what he's referring to, and is Ward 1 Commissioner Mark Cochran. That is the same commissioner that we showed some of these video snippets to, and let's take a look at some of the other things that he said during this meeting as well, in regard to this business and the duties that they held, and see whether or not they are applying these same duties to the other business establishments that are hosting these adult entertainment.
Now, and even
groups.
before we get there, I think it's noted that the gentleman who we showed the first clip of kind of started the meeting.
Yes, he did.
He did that in public comment at the beginning.
He did.
All of this came after this point.
Yes, absolutely. And after he spoke and he gave his speech and speaking about how all these violations and everything that occurred, I have never seen better poker faces on anybody of these that was displayed on these commissioners, outside of one, Elaine Beeman, who essentially started cracking up at the end of what he was saying when she kind of gave a little smirk towards the end. I would have given anything to be able to catch that on camera. Unfortunately,
I wasn't there.
Angle, I was there. I was in the crowd. The angle of the video from the recording only recorded the man speaking, did not record the commissioners. I would have given anything to be able to get that on camera. But let's take a look at some of the other comments that our fearless leader, Mark Cochran, had to say.
Open container is a greater benefit to the merchants downtown. It requires a higher level of responsibility. And why I appreciate saying she preferred to be fined. Fined just means legal for a price. So that's not what we're after here.
Legal for a price. That is not what we're here for. So essentially what he's saying is we are not going to allow this business to be able to pay a fine that would be associated with that. We want you to shut down and suffer the ramifications that we on high are putting on you, yet we refuse to do this to other businesses that follow within our political ideology.
Wow. I mean, honestly, I'm not going to lie. Isn't that the point of a license, to make it legal to play?
Exactly.
I mean, otherwise you just do it.
Mm-hmm. Let's take a look at some of the other videos.
When you add alcohol into the mix, you go to a higher level of responsibility. That's just the way it is. The reason that, I have a feeling the reason that this hasn't been cited before is because most of the things that have happened actually haven't happened inside of the venue. They've actually happened right outside of the venue.
So it's interesting to note that every single video, every single photo that we've shown here occurred inside of the venue. So this was the first time that this business that had their licensure pulled had ever had an infraction brought against them.
Yeah.
Yet they had a death sentence applied to them. Yet these other businesses have been operating for years
and continue to operate.
I mean, they're planning them
for
now.
a couple of years, yeah.
And happening inside their doors, yet nothing is said about that. Nothing ever happens about it. Nothing. It's not even brought to the table. It's mind blowing to think that just the hypocrisy of this. So let's take a look at one of the other things that he said. And this one right here actually kind of points to a lot of the hypocrisies of what he is saying.
Broad Street walks on a razor's edge between family friendly and open container and alcohol and everybody having a good time. And if somebody is derelict in their duty to provide a base level of security and something like this happens, then I think there should be punishment associated with it. So
if somebody is derelict in their duties in providing this family-friendly environment that downtown Rome, Georgia is supposed to be providing, then they should have the penalties brought to them. So at the last part of that, you saw what the actual penalty for these infractions or these violations was, and that is it's a low-level misdemeanor, granted, but still, it is a criminal charge. These businesses, these establishments are criminally acting and operating. Yet the city commission, especially Mark Cochran, refuses to even acknowledge that this is happening, this is going on.
Which is, I mean, I just can't, again, I can't get over the double standard that's being applied here. Again, not defending either business because both of them are involved in the same thing, but to have a business that has never been cited, have never had any documented issues, and they can allude to whatever they want to, we haven't caught them yet. You know what I mean? That's all that is. That's all that is, because this is the first time something's been documented, yet you lay down a harsh sentence because now you're worried about social media and what's going on in the social media world. Now, granted, I feel like that's important. I feel like it's important too when things get viral, blown out of hand, that there is some kind of recognition of it. But you got to apply the same standard across the board. And I think that's the main point.
So Jamie brought up an interesting point on that, and to quote one of our great city commissioners, you brought up the term or the term social media was used. Now let's roll this clip real fast.
Social media was mentioned, and the actions of anything in downtown Rome are going to automatically flourish through social media. It sends a message to everyone. Our role is to enhance our community, make sure that the message coming out of our community is one of safety and welcoming. And in light of all of the businesses that serve this community downtown, we need to make a strong statement tonight.
So so our fearful city commissioner, Randy Not So Quick, he's entirely fearful of the fact that this could get out or that this got out on social media and brought bad images and bad light on our downtown Rome, Georgia, that they have spent millions of dollars on revitalizing and rebuilding up. Yet and I reiterate this again, every single one of the videos and the pictures that we have shown in this came from social media.
But here's the thing though, okay? This is the one with the incident that happened. This is the one that has gone to national news. This has gone viral. This is the one that's become the problem. So if it took this for them to finally get up and put their foot down, all for it. But continue to press down on the neck, because now it's time to go look at the rest of them. And that's, in my opinion, if that's what it took, so be it.
Well, I'll put it this way. This meeting was held a while ago, and there has been nothing that has been done. PFLAG is already registered, they're already organized, and they have already secured the venue for their next year's event, where they're going to get up on stage, potentially pushing the or breaking the law even further than what they did this last time.
Look,
so,
but again, I go back to what I said at the beginning. Okay, there's a certain time and part of the process. Once it gets closer, they'll have a chance. Once it gets closer, whenever that event's supposed to occur, they'll have a chance, because that petition, even though it's there, they have to come back beforehand before it goes on the minutes to allow it to happen.
It's already been it has already been announced. They have already secured it. It's already done. It's already set in stone.
Not necessarily.
Well, until these commissioners actually grow a backbone in a sack and come out and say something about it.
Well, I firmly believe that there are three of them who are getting ready to stand up, because I'm sorry that it took this incident right here, but I think this was a awakening call for everyone who actually is inside of Rome, who doesn't spend much time downtown, who is now really waking up to some of the things that have been going on at some of these establishments?
I would say there may be one, maybe two. I do not see three.
I see three.
There may be three because this is an election cycle, but they would. I don't see them actually having the backbone and the courage to be able to stand up and speak out about this.
I do. I think there are three up there.
You're ever the optimist.
I know, but I think there are three up there who have finally seen what is going on and what the time is now. The time is now to act. It's also time, speaking of that, it's getting ready to be an election year. It's also time for, we look at getting more strong conservatives on this commission.
Yes.
Because Ward 1 and Ward 3 are going up.
Yes.
And we got 3 who are on there. But,
if the potential changes come down the line, you have 2 wards that lean conservatively that actually will vote in conservative and Republican commissioners, and they will rule the board.
Yep, and there's some people on there who have stood by this, who are in those wards that need to be replaced.
Absolutely. Let's call them by name. Mark Cochran.
Yeah,
Mark Cochran. Mark Cochran. So let's take a look at something that's real fast, and I'm gonna put this up because this is significant in this deal. So in 2019, Mark Cochran was running for his first term for this commission. That was also after we had just been screwed over by one of the current sitting commissioners, Randy Not So Quick, coming out in favor or coming out within the Republican Party and saying that they were a conservative. They had these conservative values. They would vote conservatively. They would push the conservative message and everything. Come to find out, they went and they only supported their own personal agenda and their own personal betterment by electing the mayor that essentially was the first Democrat mayor of Rome since, I don't know, long time.
Look, here's my thing about that too, though, right? But he was the first black one, right? So again,
where identity politics is okay then.
Well, it's not that identity politics is okay. I see why some people. I see why
to get Mayor Pro Tem.
Mike, I get it.
I don't at all.
I get it. I wouldn't judge the man on that one decision.
Well, there have been multiple, not just
but
the one.
I think that he's been very fair down the line when it comes to a lot of things and coming for the betterment of Rome. I feel like he's been fair in the history of it. Now, the person similar to like Obama, right? We saw that sometimes just because you want to do something to make history is not a great decision.
Yes.
And I think that's where we got to with Bill Collins becoming mayor at that time frame, because it snowballed into what we have now. Oh, well, we got the first black one elected. Let's get the first black female elected. Let's make sure that we have more people who are representative of the housing authority. And now you have a large population who have ties to the housing authority, low income based housing. You have a property values going up, but yet for these people who are on here that don't represent, that represent something that doesn't pay taxes inside of the city, we are largely snowballing into an issue.
Absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly on that one. I disagree with you on where Randy Quick falls as far as being somebody that helps promote the city and really has been a betterment for the city. But that also rolls right into where we are with our highlight, our main feature of this episode, and that being, again, Mark Cochran. We got
to vote him out, y'all. Those of you who live in the city, I don't live in the city. Those of you who live in the city, you have to vote him out. You have to do this for all of us.
Yes. So Mark Cochran in 2019 came to the Republican Party, met with a former chairman, and made the pitch the same as what Randy Not So Quick did, and convinced the chairman to, and again, the whole Randy thing, that is my opinion. That obviously Jamie doesn't feel the same way with that.
Yeah, I think Randy's a great guy, but we're going to fight tooth and nail with that. But what I will say is it wasn't just a former chairman that he met with.
I voted for him. I was sitting on that executive commission or that executive committee within the GOP. I voted in favor of doing this because I was convinced. He convinced me.
And here's something else to note, right? The local GOP has always tried to stay out of city commission races because they're supposed to be nonpartisan. Here is someone who came to the party and asked for their support.
Yep.
So he came to the party with an intentional lie to get elected, and then to turn around and then undermine everything that he said he stood for.
Absolutely. And it's not just his voting record that we are basing this this determination on. We actually have hard facts and hard evidence that shows that he is a supporter of Democrats and the Democrat ideology.
And this is what I was trying to allude to earlier.
That's on your screen right there.
So when we started talking about the former commissioner who left to try to run and lost in their primary, here you see this supposed to be conservative commissioner, right, who came to the GOP to ask for support, turn around and max out donations to the Democratic candidate.
Not just himself, but him and his wife. This is what this is. So this is the maximum legal amount that a couple is able to donate to a federal candidate running for office for a specific election cycle.
And for those of you,
the maximum amount.
For those of you who don't know too, sometimes when someone has an ideology and they can't continue to support how they want to, then they'll put their spouse's name in.
Yes, absolutely. And you'll notice that it comes to the amount of $5,800.
$5,800.
Imagine giving $5,800 for something that you really don't believe in and you're not really that much behind, but you just kind of like the person, so you're giving them the money anyway. $5,800. I can imagine our listeners could that would be a significant drop in the bucket for me.
I mean, think about it. Think about it. You had a city commissioner who also, I think it's very important too, that now let's just call it what it is. Now that you have a Democratic majority on a nonpartisan board, for the first time, they raised their own salaries by 50%. And so now, he essentially is going to make back the $5,800 that he was able to put into a losing campaign.
That's actually a very good point. I didn't even consider that. Wow, that's
it's going to bring the money back because he raised what you all pay him.
Yeah. So he didn't donate to it. He did not donate to this federal Democrat candidate, this candidate who is a super delegate for the DNC, who sits as a permanent member on the DNC National Policy Committee. He did not donate to it. Rome City donated to it. I think that's a significant way of putting it.
I mean, yeah, if you really want to look at it, because you all are paying his portion of the salary that he just increased by 50% in his vote, and then turned around before, after he voted to raise his salary after he had given this money. So you basically just repaid it. You reimbursed him for his donation to this individual.
And that was a very tight lined vote. It was 5-4, where the mayor came in and essentially was the tie-breaking vote to raise her salary as well, which is also significant to mention. She gets a higher salary than the regular commissioner.
Because she was elected by the commissioners to be mayor.
Because Mark Cochran, who was supposed to be the quote-unquote conservative-leaning, moderate conservative-leaning Republican on there, voted in favor of putting in a well-known Democrat housing authority agent and
voting against the former mayor who was elected by this board as a conservative.
Who is a noted conservative.
Yes,
without a doubt. And that was also a very tight line vote. It was, I can't say 5-4 because I don't believe that person could vote for themselves. And if they could, it would have been 5-4. It was a very split line vote for that. It was the conservative majority voting against the Democrat liberal defund the police type of majority.
Because if I remember, it was 4-5 for the gentleman who previously served as mayor, right? And then it became 5-4 for the acting mayor now.
So yes, this is who Mark Cochran actually is. Mark Cochran has come out and shown us his true colors and shown us who he truly is.
A hypocrite.
100%. There's no other way around it. That's plain and simple what he is. So come 2023, when the municipal elections come around, we wholeheartedly encourage anyone that would be listening to this, anyone that may see this, make sure, if you live in the city, make sure you get out and vote these folks out.
Hey, and if you live in the city, I just want to say, contact your local GOP and
call Jamie.
This is something that local GOP is not going to stand for anymore.
Well,
we have allowed the city to be overturned because we have tried to play by the rules. And the Democrats, again, have not played by the rules. They have intentionally done this once again. So all bets are off now.
I am so glad to finally hear that, because we see this in the major cities throughout the entire state of Georgia. Atlanta does this continuously. I would love to see all of our local delegation, all of our local Republican elected officials, all of our partisanly elected officials get behind the slate of candidates that are running on as actual conservatives for these seats and say, these are our candidates. This is who we would like to see in these offices. These are our Republican candidates,
Absolutely.
not our nonpartisan candidates, our Republican candidates.
Yep. These are the conservatives who are going to fight for your values inside the city of Rome.
Absolutely.
And it's time we stood up for that. It's time we did that for not just the city commission, but also the city school board. Because one thing that we didn't get to talk about is the issues that are going on inside of the Rome City
let's
schools.
talk about it.
Well, I mean, like here's the thing, right? And I feel like this deserves its own segment outside of this.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Because you're starting to see this activity inside of the city to where, just like every other major city, once they start to turn over to these democratic policies, then all of a sudden everything goes into a muck. It goes haywire, and there's no way of fixing it. Yep. You got a principal of the high school who left, right? Abandoned his post, and now they're trying to bring him in as the superintendent, as the sole person. And the only reason, y'all, that they are saying that this person is fit for the job is because he's African American.
Yep.
He's black, so this is our chance. That's literally a quote from a columnist inside of the local paper here, that this is our only chance to get a black superintendent, so just vote him in. Even though there's video evidence that's being reported of, alleged allegations with an appointee, a video that was shown of him trying to skirt out of a ticket, and it was documented that he was able to skirt out of one ticket, but then paid it 3 days after the video came out from another local news source.
Which is interesting to note that this video or this ticket occurred in 2020. So where was the bench warrant for the past 2 years for this ticket?
If he was anybody else, they'd have ordered re-arrest. They went to his house, they'd have pulled him out, and there'd been a warrant. He'd have been arrested. But it was because he was African American and the principal of the school, they let it fly until it went viral. The moment it went viral and the video came out, he wouldn't pay the ticket.
Yes.
If that's unfair, if that's not unfair, if that's not the same garbage that they are doing right now to a business downtown. And again, I wholeheartedly disagree with what this business was doing beforehand. But I do not agree that they should be punished for something that's going on down the street.
Absolutely. I well put. I couldn't agree with you more on that one. I would like to point out another thing on that is so we know that there was no bench warrant that was issued on that ticket, because he would have had to pass a background check in order to get that second job that he took, where he abandoned the post here in the city to go to another city as a principal. So he would have had to have had the background check. So we know that there was no warrant out for his arrest, or it would have shown up on that background check.
Yep.
So identity politics at its best, people. So we have come to that inevitable conclusion of every episode with this, where Jamie and I always like to come back and say that please make sure that you like and share any piece of content that you see that we produce and we put out there. That really helps us to get higher up in the news feed, to be able to have more people to be able to see us with just organically than Jamie and I would be able to do just on our own. Make sure that you also subscribe to any of our platforms or our page on any of the platforms that you come across. That way you can stay up to date with the new and outcoming productions that we put out there and anything of that nature. And make sure that you go to our website as well. I'm going to put that on the screen right there in front of you, conservativestalk.org, and hit the sponsor tab in the upper right-hand corner and the lower right-hand corner, and help us out with what you're able to. Our sponsors really are what drive us and help us to be able to continue to produce these and continue to make these and
absolutely
get better and better and better and better. We have some very big things coming in the future, which also comes back to the second part of this, is make sure that you put your email address and subscribe to our upcoming future bi-weekly newsletter that we will be putting out. Jamie and I have decided that we will be putting out some kind of sneak previews and some hints about the big national thing that we have coming out. We don't want to give too much away with it, but I will tell you it will be nationally significant.
Yeah.
I think that's putting
I think
it
the timing's
mildly.
right for it.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more on that, especially with what's coming out nowadays. But you'll be first in the loop in everything that we have coming out with that, and we want to make sure that you are kept up to date with everything going forward. So make sure you do both of those things and help us out with where you're able to on that.
I think one thing that I want to do before we close out,
yes,
I want to go back to that slide, that all the contact information for the city commission.
I love where your head's at. There we go.
So here are the contact information for all of your local city commissioners, and it's broken down by their ward. I think it's very important to note that in 2023, Ward 1 and Ward 3 are going to be up for re-election. I encourage every single person who has watched this video to contact your commissioners who live inside the city of Rome and tell them how disgusted you are that they are willing to shut down one business for arbitrarily for the same thing and the same lewd behavior that is going on and that they allowed inside of the city of Rome. It's time that we stand up. It's time that we start contacting these individuals and telling them that this is not the direction that we want our city and our county to go in.
So we are actually going to be sponsoring this episode and pushing it out on social. I'm thinking that this is actually the slide that we use to push and promote this.
That's fun.
And I'm really thinking so, because I think this right here can really, I think this really emphasizes where we're going with this and really drives the point home for this.
Yeah.
But as always, we appreciate y'all listening and hearing what Jamie and I have to say. And we will be coming back with you again here shortly with another episode.
Thank you for staying tuned to the Roman Special.